Alright, I get it. You guys don't like the handlebar idea. Now the whole reason I was wanting to use these is because we would be able to use the front brake and the clutch handle, or the clutch lever. That was the whole idea behind using the handlebars, but I guess you guys don't like it, so let's come up with something else. I have an idea on how to make something that's going to allow us to still use these brake levers and clutch levers, but it will look semi-like a steering wheel. Alright, I'm hoping you guys like this one, because I'm not changing this. This is basically just copying a Honda Odyssey setup. It's the same concept, but a little bit different, a little bit bigger, I think. It still allows us to use the clutch brake lever, the clutch lever, and the hydraulic brake lever. I'm not entirely sure how well the brake lever is going to work, it being hydraulic and it being on its side. The reservoir is supposed to be level on these things, and this is not level at all. It's totally on its side, so I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work or not, but we can figure out something else later on. We will have to add a thumb throttle to this to give this thing throttle, but we can work on that later on. Let's work on something else. Alright, so we got the bottom engine mounted. I don't know if you guys could see that. It's a little cramped in here. We also added these hoops on here. This basically just ties everything together, strengthens everything. I will be adding a giant skid plate in the front to protect the engine in case we run anything over or hit anything. Hopefully that skid plate will protect the engine from any damage. We also added the top parts of the jack shaft bracket. This still allows it to move back and forth to tension the chain. We also added these parts, which basically just transfer all the force of the chain pulling everything together and just transfers it directly to this, which is directly transferred to the engine. So hopefully there's no flexing in the frame when this thing is in acceleration. So next thing we need to do is we need to add a chain guard right here because our feet are gonna be right here and we definitely want a chain guard for this thing. We also need to add some plate on the bottom on this side and on that side, so therefore we have somewhere to put our feet. Alright, so we got the chain guard installed. I made it removable, so therefore we can take it off when we have to put the chain on or put it back on, so therefore it's a lot easier to do that. We also installed the floor pan. There's not really that much room on this side for your foot. It's going to be a little bit cramped. This is the side we're going to have to put the gear shifter on, so it is going to be a little bit cramped for that. You're just not going to be able to wear boots while driving this thing. We also installed a lot more stuff to strengthen the frame. We added these pieces right here that just strengthen everything up. I will be adding cross bracing in between here to strengthen it up even more. We added the bottom hoop underneath the engine to not only protect the engine but also to strengthen it, and that also connects to the middle section where the jack shaft is to strengthen that from flexing. So now I measured the gearing on this thing. I installed the chains and sprockets and all that stuff, and I measured that this is right now 1 to 4, meaning every time the tire spins around once, the sprocket on the engine spins around 4 times. Now the original gearing on this engine, well, on the motorcycle, was 3 to 1, and that top speed was 147 miles an hour. So, and that was 3 to 1. This is 4 to 1. So I'm thinking if we leave the gearing how it is now, it'll maybe top out at 100 miles an hour. There's absolutely no way I want to go 100 miles an hour on this thing. I don't have a death wish, so I will be changing the gearing to lower it a lot more, so therefore it'll maybe top out at 90. I mean, 50 miles an hour on this thing is going to feel fast. No matter how low we get the gearing, this thing's going to still be ridiculously fast. I want to gear it low enough to where it'll do wheelies, it'll have a ton of just acceleration power. So I will be changing the gearing yet again to lower it a lot more, so therefore we can get it down a little bit slower and still be safe. I want this thing to be safe. I don't want this thing to be a death machine. So it's still going to be fast no matter what we do. I just want to make it manageable and drivable, so therefore we don't die on this thing going 100 miles an hour. So anyway, I gotta end this video here. Now I have to thank Go Power Sports for sending us the parts we've used for this project. Links for everything will be in the description below. Go check that out. I gotta end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video. What did we buy today? Oh boy. There we go. What do we have here? Oh boy. Found this on Facebook Marketplace yesterday. This is a CBR 1000 RR. Produces 177 horsepower at some crazy torque and crazy RPM. Paid $500 for this thing. As you can see, the front end is missing. All I really want is the engine. So yeah, hopefully this thing's in good condition. It really doesn't look like it is, but hopefully it is. As you can see, it's been dropped. That's why it was, like this. The guy I bought it from chopped the front end off, and hopefully nothing else. But let's get this thing off my truck. It's a little hard to get in. Come on. I'm finally getting a more closer look at this thing, and it seems to be all here, but some signs do point to this thing sat outside for a good bit. You know, there's not that much damage to it, but there is some mold growing on this thing. It looks like everything is here, but holy crap, does this thing look complicated. Like, what the heck is that? Is that... I don't know what those are. There's so much wiring on this thing. Holy crap, I'm hoping I didn't buy a can of worms. Alright, so I disassembled it a little bit. I mainly just took the rear swing arm off just so I can move this thing around a lot easier. And we're putting it in my temporary storage area. This is where I keep all my stuff. And the VF1000, I have a bunch of random stuff in here that I just don't have any other place to put this stuff. So we're going to do something with that eventually, but not now just because I'm working on way too much stuff at the moment, but we will do something with that eventually.